welcome, Blessing. Welcome, Vanessa. And now, tell us what you think of just regarding the points of what the impact is would be on young people this Christmas. And first and foremost, we want to talk about the aspect of feeling lonely. How can you explain that, Blessing, to audience, and also to think about what people can do in terms of relieving the loneliness?
Yeah, so obviously this Christmas has been a bit different compared to previous Christmases we've had. A lot of people who normally would go see family haven't been able to do so, etc. So I would say that definitely has increased loneliness because especially say if you live alone and you usually go and spend Christmas with your family and you can't do that and you have to spend Christmas alone, you can feel very isolated. But I would say in combat to that, there's always Zoom, there's social media, WhatsApp, Instagram. There's so many different ways to connect with your friends and family. So even if you can't see them in person, you can still talk to them, you can still see their faces.
Wonderful. What about you, Vanessa? What would be your contribution with regards to feeling lonely? What can people do, or what can young people do to feel better at this time of the season?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Blessing said about feeling lonely, looking at other people and comparing this Christmas to previous Christmases as well. Some people want to spend Christmas with their grandmas or with older people who are far away and they haven't been able to see them all year. And with the build up to being able to see them for Boris to suddenly put the nuclear four in place, it's been hard for some people to deal with. And then also being on social media, because social media is a global thing. You might look at other countries that aren't in lockdown and you might see them spending time with their family and you might feel, really upset that your country is in this situation. But yeah, there are things like Zoom. You can still meet up with people online. I guess just listening to Christmas music, trying to make the most out of this situation, buying gifts online, maybe even buying gifts for yourself, treating yourself because this year has been difficult. And yeah, I guess just using the internet and social media to your advantage in that aspect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing on that, Vanessa. And the next thing is that we can think about is perhaps unrealistic desires, or shall we talk about, the unrealistic desires of young people when they look at celebrities and what they're doing on social media. What would be your contribution to that, or what would be your suggestion in terms of people looking at people who are higher than them in terms of their financial capability and wishing that they were in that situation, and how that can affect their mood and their outlook of this season? Blessing.
Well, I guess obviously there's a lot more rich, like there's people in this world who are richer than us, who are able to afford designer luxury things. And looking at that, like especially as a young person, it can be a bit demotivating because you or your parents don't have the money to afford it. So like especially during this time when like some celebs are posting gifts they've given to people or gotten from people, and then you think, oh, like I've never gotten a gift anywhere like that. It can be a bit demoralizing, but the thing is, obviously, like social media, at the end of the day, it isn't real, and these people have different lives to us. So we really shouldn't be, comparing ourselves. Like for example, Nicki Minaj, who's like one of my favorite rappers of all time, she had a baby, and this luxury brand called Fendi has sent her like a bunch of baby clothes, like strollers, like things that like I like thousands that like I would never be able to get. So obviously like I and a lot of other people could look at it and be sad, but at the same time like she's done so much, and obviously she's where she is because of what she's done. It's not just like she woke up and like just got a bunch of baby stuff.
Yeah. Wonderful. What about you, Vanessa, in terms of celebrities as young people looking at celebrities. And I dare say that it's not just young people, it's people who are on social media tend to look at people, celebrities, and think, oh, wow, they are having this, they are having that, and I'm not having that. What would you say? What would be your contribution to that?
Well, I think there are two ways of looking at it, because on one end you could look at it and then feel really demotivated and feel like you're kind of unaccomplished, or you haven't achieved what they have, and you don't have the funds or the resources to get what they have, and you might feel sad that you're not able to receive those kinds of gifts or even give those kinds of gifts. But in another light, you might look at that and see and think, oh, okay, maybe if I budget properly for next Christmas, or I work a bit harder during the Christmas season, I'll be able to get to buy those kinds of gifts for people. And I might actually be able to make it work if I put in the effort. So yeah, I think there are two ways of looking at it. Unfortunately, most people look at it in the first way and they feel demotivated. But you always have to remember that these celebrities are getting traction, or being recognized by media outlets for a reason. Those, getting friendly things for your baby is not normal. The majority of people will not experience that. So you have to realize that comparing yourself to these people who are miles away is not really realistic. And even though you can work to get to that level when you're older, right now looking at those people and thinking bad about yourself is just not necessary, because they're like 5% of the population.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing about that, Vanessa, and also letting us understand the fact that in terms of the celebrity world and in terms of social media, people come with various stages of their lives. And like Blessing mentioned, people like Nicki Minaj and even any of the celebrities that you see online have been doing this for long. They have been putting in the effort, they've been putting in the work. And of course, I remember one of my mentors did say that do not compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10, because when that person started their chapter 1, you probably weren't there, or you did not kind of think about this way of doing life at that point. So it is a great thing to put that in perspective when you are looking at other people and how they live their lives on social media. So now we will talk about, you have shared about celebrities. What about the ordinary people? So you know of a friend who is in school with you, or whom you have been, in touch online, and all of a sudden in this Christmas they've got a bunch of things, and you know how people like to flex on social media. They've hipped all of it together, or they're unboxing things, and then you are sitting there and thinking, man, what are my parents doing? What can you say about that in terms of getting young people to think differently, Vanessa?
Well, I think obviously a lot of parents do different things, but as well, a lot of parents spend their money in different ways. So you might spend your money on going out to the city or traveling or seeing different things, and they might spend their money on materialistic things. It all varies. And some parents might prefer to save money so that their child can have a better future, and can pay off their university debt a lot earlier. So it all depends. So if you see your friends and they're flexing with their parents' money, you have to realize that every single parent has a different approach to these kinds of things. And finances are a very touchy subject. So obviously those people who are posting all of their gifts are not going to show the difficulties or the realities of finances or anything like that. They're only going to show the part that they want you to see, just in the same way that you would do the same, presumably. So yeah, I guess you have to take all the things that you see on social media with a grain of salt, because it's not always the reality.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Vanessa. Thank you for pointing that out, because it's really, really important. And we have seen that a lot of times with regards to other families. And I always say that every family is different, and every family decides on what the priority of their life and what they want to spend their money on. We could be earning the same money, as parents, and of course, my perspective of spending will be to what, and that's the truth actually, to send my children out to sightsee, to see things that they would have memories of, to see things that will have lasting value in their life. Another parent could decide to blow on their children, giving them, thousands of pounds worth of stuff on their birthdays or on Christmas Day, but that doesn't necessarily that shouldn't necessarily have an impact on my children, because we have different ways of doing things. So Blessing, what would you say? What would be your contribution about that? If I haven't even mentioned your point.
No, it's pretty much what Vanessa said in terms of social media isn't reality. And to be honest, anyone could go and put something on social media, make it look real or whatever. So you really do have to take it with a pinch of salt. And again, every family is different. You don't know the backstory as to how they've gotten the gifts they've gotten. They're just showing you the gifts. You don't know if maybe they've had arguments over it, lost nights of sleep over it, problems in the family over it. You don't know, you're just seeing the happy bits. So just make sure you're aware of that when you're seeing these types of things.
That's really, really a very valuable point you have just mentioned, because there's no point in even having all the sleepless nights, as you've said, and pressuring parents to buy you things, because when they do, guess what is going to happen? Then the rest of the year, or most part of the new year, they are going to be spending their time on, guess what, going to work to be able to pay for all those things. And I think as a young person, the most valuable thing for you would be having your parents around, to be in your life, rather than them going out all the time to look for money to service your needs, isn't it? Yeah. So that's quite important. Now the other aspect of social. So we've talked about three things in terms of the negative side, which is having unrealistic desires from social media celebs, feeling jealous about other people, their way of life, and even how families are doing things. In fact, I think Vanessa did mention sometimes how family portray themselves during this festive season, and you see all that on social media. They could have done that post for the picture, and then the next minute, everyone is on their gadgets. You wouldn't know. So these are things that you have to really bring into perspective and think, yes, if somebody is doing that, how can you replicate it, or how can you do it something either similar or better for your family situation? And then, of course, feeling lonely. Feeling lonely is I think is the biggest problem at this point in time, because people used to go out, and for instance, even going out to see things like Winter Wonderland, for instance, which was the biggest part of our Christmas festive season. And that didn't happen. Going out to the shopping centers to just see the lights and see how busy it is, how people are in the festive mood. And I always love Christmas season because everybody seems happy, even though it is doom and gloom as far as the weather is concerned and the lighting. And yet you don't have that. Plus your family members, for some people, this is the only time that they get to see everybody in the family. It is a precious moment. I don't think there's any other time in the year, because when somebody calls for a party, for instance, it could be that you're working and you probably not be able to attend. But Christmas season is the best season because most people are off work and at home, and that is always the time that we get together and and have the best time together. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened this year, which is really really a shame. But I always also say that it is we have to thank God that we are still alive, because unfortunately a lot of people have passed. So many families have lost relations. In fact, and that brings also adds to the question of the sadness, or the feeling of sadness at this point in time. But there is always hope. So the motivational side of social media, what would you say young people can do, Vanessa, as far as, or how do you think social media can motivate people into being themselves and be doing things really, things that will empower them instead?
Well, I think during this time, alongside people being festive and wishing people Merry Christmas, a lot of people are also wishing people a Happy New Year. This is around the time where people are really looking forward to trying to implement their New Year's resolutions and trying to better themselves for the up and coming year. And I think with the 2020 that we've had, a lot of people, especially now, are really looking forward to changing things in 2021. And I think during this isolation period, a lot of people have found out new things about themselves, or they've kind of let themselves go, which is, understandable. But 2021, people are really looking to pick themselves back up and make the most out of that year. So yeah, I think now, because obviously it's the 26th, people are looking more towards the new year than Christmas, because that's gone now. There are going to be a lot more motivational quotes popping up on people's feeds, people showing their weight loss journeys, or showing different goals that they're setting for themselves. And people can start taking inspiration from that now, and then just making the most out of 2021.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think this is really needed at this point in time, that it is important to always look ahead rather than keep looking back and wishing, things were better. What about you, Blessing? What would you think is the motivation side of social media for people, rather than looking at the doom and gloom?
Yeah, I feel like, so kind of going off what Vanessa said about people posting, their journey through the year and everything, but it could also inspire you, or you could maybe feel like maybe I should be doing this for next year, so that you can look back and see how the year's been. So you could maybe like sit down and think, I'm actually going to commit to maybe losing weight, or in regards to social media, I want to actually give it a crack at this influencing thing, make a plan for yourself, what you're going to do differently, and actually just sticking to it and following through, so that at the end of the year, you can also be one of those people who looks back and says, oh, this is all the progress I've made throughout the year.
That's smashing. Yeah, great. So in terms of planning about money, Vanessa, you are the money manager. What would you say young people can do, one, to make money, or to be able to plan towards next year, so that, one, they would have a stress-free Christmas? In fact, there used to be this ad, I don't know if it's still there. There used to be this ad that was called, is it planner for something, and every January they will start advertising on it, so that people can start saving money.
Oh yeah, I've seen them pop up already.
You have? Okay, I don't see them anymore for some reason. Yeah, but that used to be a good thing, so that you could commit even £50 a month till Christmas, so that you're up to the following Christmas, so that would be a better Christmas. What would you say your your take? What would be your take on people really planning so that they can have a better Christmas?
So I guess making it one of your resolutions would be a good start. And also, since we're coming towards a new year, then you can maybe have a go at journaling, or keeping a diary or a finance log, or just switching up how you manage your money. You can also even have a meeting with your bank, if you really want to be serious about this. Then you could go to your bank provider and ask them for advice on how to save effectively. So yeah, I guess similar to the advert we saw, saving every month would be a good start, but also budgeting for each person. So planning roughly how many people you're going to be buying a gift for, and then also seeing how much you want to spend per person. So depending on how close you are with that person, or how many times you're going to see them throughout the year, then you can maybe price it as higher or lower. And yeah, mainly just doing that monthly. And then also, if you look at what you're already spending your money on, so if you have monthly subscriptions that you're not using, for example, then just cancel them, Or if you're spending loads of money on coffee, for example, every week, then you could look for a slightly cheaper coffee shop and then just make those little changes that actually make a big difference in the end.
Awesome, wonderful. I'll come back to you on the making money side of it. But Blessing, what would be your take on planning so that to have a better Christmas next year?
Planning. So I would say pretty much putting money aside, kind of just dedicating money to Christmas. So for me, I obviously have my bank account, but I also have PayPal. So when I'm trying to save my money, then I send my money off to my PayPal, because if I want to access it, it's a bit harder. I have to move it into my bank account before I spend it. So it makes me think, do I actually need to spend this money? Again, with what Vanessa said about kind of just think how many people are you getting presents for, and how much do you want to spend on them? Once you work out how much you would probably need for, like, say, next Christmas, then you can split that, divide that into 12, and you can figure out how much money you need to be saving each month. So then this is the amount of money that needs to go into my PayPal, or say you have like a little savings account or something like that, put it in there, so that when Christmas comes around and you've got money and you're not stressing about getting people presents and everything like that.
Wonderful, and I would say that you are very good at that in terms of actually putting the money away gradually in terms of what you want to buy, other than leaving it last minute and putting all your money into that. So that brings me to the point of making money, because you girls make your own money. You know, it's amazing that I don't have to buy you a lot. So, Vanessa, what would be your take on, your advice to young people who would look at now and think, oh, I didn't get what I wanted this year, and feeling sad. So rather than feeling sad or feeling demotivated, how can they think about this crack on this thing of how can I make my own money? Because making money online is not restricted to age or or how you look or anything like that. It's just having the skills to do it, isn't it? So
Mhm.
what would you say to a young person who is thinking about making their next year a better one with regards to increasing what they earn?
Well, I think it's a very broad subject, so I'll try and keep it simple. But basically, just looking at the kinds of things that you enjoy already. So if you have a hobby, for example, then seeing how people who have that hobby turn it into a living, and actually make a profit out of what they're doing. So for example, if you play an instrument, then you can maybe see, oh, I could maybe write a songbook or something, or I could start tutoring people on how to play the instrument. So things like that. So just making sure that you're not putting too much pressure on yourself, and doing something that you don't enjoy just for the sake of money. Because I think that if you steer it in the direction of what do I actually enjoy doing, then you'll have a much better chance at sticking with what you've chosen to do, and then also making a profit out of it as well. So yeah, I guess just looking at the kinds of hobbies that you like, and then also factoring in the important things like how much you're willing to spend to make this work, how much time you're willing to put into this thing, whether your parents are on board, all these kinds of things, and then making a business plan for yourself, and then just executing it, and then being consistent until it works.
Wonderful. That's really smashing. What about you, Blessing? What would you say your take on for those who are literally going to, for people generating income in that respect?
Yeah, so I would say maybe look at like what type of skills you have. So if you have like any technological skills or online skills, that'd be really useful. I'm drawing from my own example here, but when I was creating my course, I had to do a lot of editing, and because of that, I now know how to edit, and because of that, I've been able to actually charge people to edit their own things. So that's like something that I didn't expect, but made me think, if you know how to edit, or you know how to create videos, film, maybe you know how to like write blogs or something like that. That's a way that you can make money by advertising your skills. And again, if you go on social media, if you want to maybe post about things you like or want to create an account for yourself, then that can also be another way to make money as well.
Wonderful. That's really a valid point in terms of making money, because we know that there are various ways of making money online. And of course, as young people, this is your era, I always say. Nowadays, it took a lot of time for people to go to school, to learn this, to learn that, before you can even finish school and now come and start to think about finding a job, and that would pay you. In your case, all you can do is, and we have several stories or examples of young people who are crushing it online. So just looking at people who are doing it and then figure out how are they doing it. YouTube tutorials are good, because in your case, that is mostly what you've learned. I have helped in some way, and I always would say, if you're a parent listening to this, either now or the recording, um, sometimes we put a lot of pressure on our children, especially if you spot that your child is talented in one area or the other. We always would say that, oh, I wish my child could do X, Y, Z. But if you, the parent, are not doing something, it can't be difficult for the child to really stand out. And I would always say also, I have looked at various kids who are making money online. When I started and I really wanted to get my girls or my children, would I say, the other one is still working his way up. When I wanted to get my children into entrepreneurship, the main thing I did was to look at young people who are making money, because sometimes we can think about making money to be, and I used to think that as well, why are people always talking about money? Money makes the world go round. And if I can get my children to start making money now, it will make my life easier, and it will make their life easier as well, so that they don't grow up chasing money like we do as adults and just making life stressful all the time. So if you are a parent and you know that your children at this point are despondent, disappointed with what happened with regards to their gifts, of course, you haven't been having the full amount of pay because you were on failure, or perhaps you have even been laid out. And of course, you are not having any income, and for that reason your children struggled. You taking the first step would be very, very important in helping your children to be able to take this online thing seriously. And like Vanessa said, if it is something that they like to do, it won't be work. It won't. You wouldn't have to impress upon them. You won't have to cajole them into doing it. They themselves will do it because that is what they love. But at least when they see that mom is doing this or dad is doing that, it just gives them that boost and that courage to step forward, because it can be nerve-wracking, believe it or not, that to be exposed in terms of they call it the imposter syndrome. You think, am I worthy enough? Would people take me serious? And if you, an adult, is thinking like that, guess what the young people will be thinking as well. It can be hard for them, even though they will have the skill. But when you step out, you give them the permission to be able to use their talent, to be able to take this seriously, and just make life a lot better for both of you, the parent, and them as well. And obviously, their education then aligns with what they want to do. And we will have another day to share that, won't we, Blessing and Vanessa?
Yeah.
How you have purposefully planning your education to support what you do, what you love, so that you can make the living as well as enjoying life as well, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so we won't be selling today. We won't be talking about courses, but of course, we are here. If you have any question, send us a question, like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it, and let's get talking. Next week would have been what? The 2nd of January.
Oh my God.
2020. All right. So yes, stay in tune. We shall be here next week. Thanks you for listening. Thank you, girls. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.